This is the story of how an underground cartoonist,
Matt at the time was living in literally a shack in Venice.
somehow connected with a bunch of Ivy League geniuses.
We're all on the Harvard Lampoon at the same time.
I remember thinking it was a little pretentious.
And American television royalty,
Biggest comedy director probably in the business.
to turn one man's second best idea
He was in the waiting room about to pitch this show and didn't have these characters drawn up yet.
from an afterthought
The animated segments got bigger laughs than our comedies.
into a juggernaut.
Hey, we've got a hit show. Let's put out an album.
There were Simpsons products everywhere that were flying off the shelf.
Matt Groening has broken into cartooning big time.
With the help of a tiny group of animators,
We were not polished studio guys.
I wanted to do something different.
If we play our cards right, we could do something really big here.
I'm out.
and some ambitious young executives
So we became the bad boys of television.
at a struggling network that could barely keep the lights on.
He's a big TV star.
Yeah, on Fox.
They would grow into America's most durable, dynamic, and dysfunctional family.
That was part of why we got hate mail from teachers.
They just thought we were the Antichrist.
Amen.
While the family behind them disintegrated.
The relationship became very tense.
Jim Brooks hated me.
I love the animators.
The man looked at me like I was insane.
I love the spirit they brought to the work.
He said, "You don't tell me how to run my studio."
So we filed a lawsuit.
Will that hold up in court?
No, I've tried it before.
But amidst the chaos, The Simpsons bankrolled a network that would go on to change the face of America, creating the longest-running sitcom ever in the process.
None of us expected the show to run very long.
This is a show that could last forever.
So take a load off, crack open a duff, and get ready for a trip to the very heart of America.
At the time, it was a shocking show.
As we expose this family's true colors.
They're yellow, so.
On Icons Unearthed, The Simpsons. While this imperfect but much-loved American family grew up in the 90s, The Simpsons family tree has its roots in a different era.
It all happened at the beginning of that turbulent decade known as the 80s.
A time when Reagan was president.
The United States.
People were holding hands across America, and television was nothing
What you talking about, Lou?
like it is today.
If we cast our memories back, there are 3 networks.
ABC, CBS, and NBC.
They are largely focused on weekday prime time.
From 7 to 10 each night, those 3 networks waged a war for viewers.
It's very, very heavily fought over media real estate.
And to win the ratings war,
you need a handful of marquee sitcoms.
Afternoon, everybody.
A couple big dramas.
Miserable bitch.
In particular, in the 1980s, the family sitcom was dominant.
What's the matter? You guys aren't getting enough?
95% of television landscape, especially comedies, was pretty much just like bland old family comedies.
And no one would know that better than this guy.
My name is Garth Anseer. I was head of current comedy programming at NBC, so I had the top 5 shows in television reporting to me.
And none was as important as show number 1.
Cosby Show was this comedic juggernaut, very typical of its time. It was very moralistic. Jokes were very good-natured and family-oriented, that kind of thing. Very much about a slightly bumbling dad who knows everything, a mom who knows even more. The kids all are a little bit out of line in very acceptable ways, but ultimately everyone loves each other.
The Cosby Show's blueprint was the guiding philosophy behind all of Garth's primetime shows.
The philosophy in my head is that most television shows are versions of extended families, whether it's the Today Show, which is a surrogate husband and wife, or it's Family Ties, or it's Golden Girls. They're all families. Even if you do a workplace comedy. For example, Cheers, no one's related to each other, but it's a family.
And by the mid-'80s, these fictional families were under the firm control of the networks.
The networks had been in their positions of authority and power for a very long time.
But in 1986, a new, unexpected challenger would step into the ring to compete with the Big Three.
Rupert Murdoch and Barry Diller wanted to start a new network.
Rupert and Diller were the respective owner and CEO of film studio 20th Century Fox, who immediately named their new company the Fox Broadcasting Corporation, which quickly became known as simply
Fox.
To develop the network, Barry Diller immediately poached from the competition, hiring a young but experienced Garth Ancier.
Before I left NBC, I got quite a bit of talking to from Brandon Tartikoff.
In case you're wondering, I'm Brandon Tartikoff, president of NBC Entertainment.
You know, you're about to start a network on all these UHF stations.
He wasn't wrong. The Big Three were on the stronger VHF band.
NBC is on Channel 4 and CBS is on Channel 2.
Which made them come in clearer.
And they're on Channel 31. It's hard for people to find them.
All stuff that no longer matters to how we consume television shows, but was very, very important at the time.
Famously, Tartikoff even cracked, they're on a coat hanger network, which was a mean way of saying
all the deck is stacked against it. The networks are really well established. They have lots of money. They have lots of advertisers.
We were, an upstart, and we didn't have an audience.
Garth's former NBC boss even threatened,
I can assure you there'll never be a fourth column on that scheduling board. So when I got to Fox, of course, the first thing we did was make a magnetic scheduling board with 4 columns.
But Garth was gonna need to fill that magnetic board with shows.
The challenge with being a programmer is you're not making the shows. You're saying, you make a show, I think that idea is good enough, I think you can do it. We are placing our bets on other people.
And this was the guy Garth hired to make those bets.
My name is Rob Keneally.
Luckily, he was already working at 20th Century Fox.
I was in my boss's office, and the assistant came in and she said, it's Barry Diller on 3, and he leaned back for the fun, and she said, for Rob. I was like, uh-oh.
Rob took the long walk of doom across the lot to Barry's office, only to find...
He was very complimentary, and he basically said, I need you more here than over there. I said, I know nothing about being a network executive, and he was like, good.
The ripe old age of...
I was 26.
Rob became a network exec, wielding immeasurable power.
You're famous overnight when you take those jobs. I was one of 4 gatekeepers, so everybody was my new best friend.
But they would only use this power to...
make the best shows possible.
So they set off to fill programming slate.
We had nothing. I can only compare starting a network to what a writer faces when they stare at a blank piece of paper.
So before they even wrote on the page, they took a good, hard look in the mirror.
You have to figure out what that network is about. What's the personality of that network?
For example,
ABC was the female drama network.
You said this was gonna be fun.
I said that?
NBC was the comedy network.
Afternoon, everybody. Hold
CBS was the Tiffany network. Older, they were more adult.
And Fox?
We didn't quite know what we'd be until we started making shows and seeing what worked.
Barry Diller had one directive for his young staff.
You can't put shows on Fox that would work on NBC. We have to do exactly the opposite.
What we were looking for is niches and ways to kind of stand out.
We have to put shows that will grab people by the throats and drag them over to an alternative network.
But Fox soon realized they couldn't just steal someone else's audience. They needed to create their own. The problem was,
no one wanted to work at Fox. So I was usually on my knees begging anyone who I wanted to come over.
But Garth wasn't on his knees for too long, because off the elevator came 2 writers that had something that smelled like something Fox would be interested in.
Lon Levitt and Michael Moy had done very traditional shows, but done them really well.
Although relatively young, they had already tasted success writing and producing a show called
The Jeffersons.
I wear the pants in this family. And when you zip them up, include your mouth.
And they were funny guys, but they weren't Aaron Spelling, they weren't Whit Thomas.
They have a sick sensibility, which I like.
And they pitched more of an experiment, more of a pilot.
A pilot called...
On the front of the title, it said, we don't know what to call this.
Title aside, did it fit Garth's philosophy?
Television shows are versions of extended families.
And this script was about...
About a sort of terrible family and...
Oh, perfect. But did it follow Barry's directive?
We have to put shows that will grab people by the throats.
And this script
subverted the idea of the sitcom.
You know, it's the anti-Cosby Show, I think it was pitched as.
So they greenlit the show and gave it a title, Married with Children.
Honey, take a picture of me so you can remember me when I was beautiful.
Well, you're gonna get worse?
That was the first, like, really irreverent family sitcom.
At the time, it was a shocking show.
It was really offensive back then.
If every sitcom was shot in front of a live studio audience, Married with Children, it was like the show was shot in front of a live strip club audience. So perhaps it wasn't surprising that pissed a lot of people off.
There was a housewife in the Midwest, I think her name was Terry Ricolta, and she took it on as a cause that she was going to crush this show.
Terry Ricolta got so sore she wrote letters to the sponsors, and some of them pulled their ads from the show.
And the more that she tried to crush it, and the more that she said this is a show that no child should watch in America, the more the ratings went up.
That's what made it popular. Like, that's what I tuned in for. I'm like, I gotta find out what this show is everybody's talking about. And it was fantastic. Seems like Barry's advice really paid off.
What became clear when Married became the biggest show on the network was that that was the only way to go to make this network work.
What we realized was if we were controversial and noisy and people talked about our shows, that would be a Fox show.
Oh, yeah. We became the bad boys of television.
Married with Children had given the fledgling Fox network an acerbic hit.
So they put on Married with Children, which people flipped about.
I can't believe everybody doesn't.
Proving younger viewers were hungry for a new kind of comedy.
Mortified.
Well, get happy.
Even if executives didn't get the anti-sitcom sitcom. From an outsider's point of view, like these other networks are kind of looking down their nose at them like, what is this crap you're peddling?
I don't know what it is, but I want you to cut it out.
Now the competition was taking notice. Fox wanted to get some adults in the room. And not just any adult.
The biggest director, comedy director probably in the business.
The one and only
James L. Brooks.
Jim Brooks is a television industry and movie industry icon.
Thank you very much.
He'd been a TV producer, hit sitcom Taxi.
From Room 222 to The Mary Tyler Moore Show, his vast experience had seen him play a role in defining American television.
He was one of the most famous guys in the history of television.
Then had gone off to and done, a series of very, very successful, celebrated Oscar-winning movies.
From Terms of Endearment to broadcast news.
Pretty peppy party, isn't it, pal?
He was immensely respected.
So, of course, if you're starting a network, the first person you want to go beg to do a show is Jim Brooks.
Who knew if James L. Brooks and his Gracie films could be tempted back to television? In the 80s, the small screen was small time.
For him to go back into TV after having won a gazillion Emmys on the Mary Tyler Moore Show and Taxi, it's like, hey, Martin Scorsese, you're now doing a sitcom? What's this all about?
Fortunately, James was interested, but his focus was entirely on one woman.
He wanted to do a show about Tracey Ullman.
Who is this Tracey Ullman, anyway?
Tracey Ullman was a comedian and character actress who had blazed across British comedy like a comet in a dress.
She could do any character under the sun.
But in the US, she was relatively unknown, leaving Garth with only one choice.
You say yes to him, of course. I would have crawled over broken glass to him to make a show.
Fox immediately greenlit the eponymously named show, and Brooks called in a trusted hand to develop the project.
My name is Ken Eston, and I was one of the executive producer, creator, showrunners of the Tracey Ullman Show.
James and Ken were old friends from their days on Taxi.
Jim said Tracey was so talented, he didn't think we could catch all her talent in a sitcom.
I always knew you had a thing for her.
So they decided, why not a variety show?
The variety show would be sketches so she could act. But we'd also have one sketch that was a musical sketch with singing and dancing so we could show everybody her talent as a singer-dancer.
Another good idea.
But this was not the all-singing, all-dancing age. In fact,
the variety show was dead.
So was Fox about to start beating a dead horse?
Pretty much Fox said, do whatever you want because they had Jim Brooks.
Ken and his team now had to work out how to eloquently speak to an audience no longer fluent in variety.
The sketches, when they ended and another one started, we weren't sure people would always know that it wasn't just another scene of the same sketch, and we didn't want to create that confusion, so we decided we need a bumper between every sketch.
A perennial problem for sketch shows, Brooks looked to Ullman's compatriots for inspiration.
We thought of Monty Python because it was a show we all admired.
Thank you, thank you. You've saved our city. But at what cost?
And so our first thought was kind of a Monty Python-ish thing in that we said, let's have a talking bear.
But after talking with their spouses,
none of our spouses liked the talking bear.
Instead, they shifted their focus to a little something that producer Richard Sakai had dug up.
So Richard Sakai, maybe a year earlier for my birthday, gave me a cartoon that he bought that was called Life in Hell.
Written by a young underground cartoonist named Matt Groening.
Life in Hell is, often a one-panel comic, sometimes one very complex panel with lots happening. It's quite nihilistic. The main character is a one-eared, very simply drawn bunny. It's got sort of a philosophical bent to it.
Not to mention, very progressive for its time.
So you don't immediately look at that and think, oh, this could be network material here.
But someone did.
Yeah, I loved it. I said, gosh, these characters are so weird looking. They're drawn poorly. They all have overbites for no apparent reason. They were perfect.
But who was this Matt Groening who drew rabbits with overbites?
Matt Groening was kind of this cool punk rock dude who was making these edgy comics.
Offbeat, LA Underground, animation guy.
What that means in 1980s pop culture is that you draw cartoons for alternative weeklies, sort of small circulation magazines, that kind of stuff.
Matt at the time was living in literally a shack in Venice.
We loved Matt for that reason. He was a bohemian. He was an outsider.
Meanwhile, co-executive producer Heidi Perlman had someone else in mind.
She had a favorite cartoonist
by the name of M.K. Brown.
M.K. Brown is a famous underground kind of illustrator.
This woman did a psychiatrist who spoke with the click language that they use in Africa.
Which had the rather unique name of
Dr. Janice Godatu.
And Heidi wanted that.
Forced to pick between the two, the producers reached a compromise.
So Heidi Perlman agreed her artist could do half and our artist could do half.
But first, they would need to submit a writing sample.
We're going to tell them we want one joke and we want you to take 3 to 4 little segments to tell that one joke. And you're going to have a total of 1 minute on our show.
But 60 seconds was about how much time Matt had to pitch his idea.
Groening, is getting ready to go in and pitch his idea for a show based on Life in Hell, when it occurs to him that if he pitches successfully, he will no longer control his own creation. It'll be, property of Fox or whatever. And Groening, coming from this, irreverent, underground cartooning, alternative universe, deeply suspicious of corporate influence and corporate control, decides more or less on the spot, no, I'm not pitching them Life in Hell.
Instead,
I'm going to just go an entirely other direction. I'm going to quickly draw, this sort of sketch.
And he quickly looked at his own family for his inspiration, including his mom, who had this beehive hairdo, and the different people in his family from the names of actual family members.
That would be Dad Homer, Sister Lisa, baby sister Maggie, and his mom Margaret, or perhaps Marge for short.
But, sketches, a mom, a dad, and 3 kids, and then goes in and says, what we should do is the sitcom Family from Hell.
And so, about a minute was all Matt Groening needed to change the course of his life.
And that's where The Simpsons is born.
Or so we've been told.
I think Matt can attest to whether or not that is actually true or not.
I think it is. Yeah, I think that's a true story.
But according to Ken, that's not quite how it went down. Let's rewind a bit. Back to when Matt Groening was given the assignment.
We're going to tell him we want one joke, and you're going to have a total of 1 minute on our show.
And Matt went off to write that one joke.
So we go into pre-production, and we're not getting anything from Matt. He's not turning anything in.
In this version, a lack of life in hell was making Ken's life hell.
So I said to Richard, what's going on with the Matt? He said, well, he doesn't want to give up any of the merchandising in Life in Hell because he makes his living off of Life in Hell. He doesn't want to mess with it. He's keeping that to himself. He's not going to share it with anybody.
To which Fox responded,
well, if you won't give us the rights, then it's over. Okay, he was a nobody at the time in terms of the way they judge talent. And so they let him go.
Matt Groening's hastily drawn family looked destined to remain a doodle. With the Tracey Ullman Show about to go into production and still needing interstitials, executives were determined not to lose Matt Groening.
One day I said to Richard, I don't care about life in hell. He draws. He must have some other characters lying around. Let's just have him bring in any characters and his sense of humor.
James L. Brooks and Richard Sakai were prepared to make a simple concession that was to alter the course of television history.
Richard did do that. He went back to Fox, said, we're willing to take what Matt will sell to us. We'll allow merchandising shared.
No longer afraid to lose his life's work to a huge corporate entity, Matt Groening.
He went into Jim's office, and he may or may not, because I was not in the office, may or may not have drawn the characters right in the office.
Well, whenever it happened, Matt Groening put pencil to paper.
All I know is within days, he gave Jim The Simpsons.
With scripts in hand for some cartoon bumpers, James L. Brooks set out to find an animation studio to bring these stories to life, finally settling on a little studio called Klasky Csupo.
Klasky Csupo was a small Hollywood studio.
Founded by producer Arlene Klasky and animator Gabor Csupo, the studio had built up quite a reputation for doing imaginative, cutting-edge work. But to take on a project like the Tracey Ullman Show, they had to hire some fresh talent, like these two merrymakers.
I had met Wes at Cal Arts. We were like roommates, basically.
A school known for producing top-tier animation talent. Bill even won an Academy Award for his student film, Mr. Gloom.
It was funny, because at Cal Arts, these guys were talking about it and going like, yeah, what do you do after you win, you know, that Academy Award? I mean, where do you go? And then I jokingly said, like, well, you win another one.
And he did just that, with his student film, Observational Hazard.
I was looking at, like, Pink Floyd The Wall. Wow, look at all the cool shit you can do with this art form. Like, it's incredible.
And wanting to make more
cool shit.
Bill left Cal Arts to go animate on the John Cusack movie One Crazy Summer, bringing along his Cal Arts friends Wes Archer and David Silverman. But after a year on that gig, they all found themselves
out of work, and Wes was the one that called me,
wondering if Bill wanted to work on more
cool shit.
Well, we were all aware of Matt Groening's comic strip, Life in Hell. And when Gabor Csupo mentioned that they might be getting an animated series of shorts, I was pretty excited about that.
Producing The Simpsons interstitials would be a big ask for a small production company.
We had 1 week to animate it, and very low budget. There was no art director.
It was a long day.
They quickly realized they would need a third animator, and they brought David in to help.
We were just kind of making it up as we were going along.
And they had to work quick, because deadlines were looming.
Hello, my name's Tracey Ullman, and my show is on next.
On April the 5th, 1987, Tracey Ullman braved the airwaves for the very first time, and quickly found an audience amongst Gen Xers.
There was nothing like it on the air then, so it had that going for it.
This late-night sketch comedy show was at the vanguard of Fox's comedy lineup.
The Tracey Ullman Show was definitely at the higher end on the quality scale of Fox in the late 80s.
And it was critically received. She was considered a genius, and it had a lot of the positive buzz that way.
I love the Tracey Ullman Show.
The Simpsons kept their powder dry for now, as the only interstitials in the premiere belonged to the doctor with the African name.
I'm Dr. Janice Ngodatu.
Dr. Janice Ngodatu.
I have a patient coming in just 1 minute, but first I have to show you something. Look, I wore my slippers to the office. What was I thinking of?
But come episode 3 of The Tracey Ullman Show, America got its first look at The Simpsons.
Well, good night, son.
Dad?
Yeah?
What is the mind? Is it just a system of impulses, or is it something tangible?
Relax. What is mind? No matter. What is matter? Never mind.
Thanks, Dad.
And even in a single minute, there was something emerging.
You got the real feeling of the emotional content, because they all are about something.
Maggie being put to bed by Marge.
When the bell breaks, the cradle will fall.
And when the lights go out in the room, Maggie's eyes are bugged out because she's just been told a horror story. And I just remember loving that.
As for the voices...
We may be the best parents in the world.
Good night, dear.
Good night.
Those were also kept low budget.
We pulled the voice talent out of the cast of The Tracey Ullman Show. That way there wouldn't be a second set of residuals to have to pay.
Fortunately, The Tracey Ullman Show had a supporting cast to match its star, including Dan Castellaneta.
Maybe this will help.
who would be tapped to play Homer.
I haven't got all day. Now leap and give it all you've got.
Do I have to?
Homer, at the beginning, he sounded very like Walter Matthau.
Bart.
Very aggressive, stern father.
I'll get it.
And would only later become the lovable goofball. That voice is quite different.
It would be Dan's castmate, an experienced comedic actress, Julie Kavner,
Honey, can we help you with something?
who'd lend her voice to Marge.
Bart, are you burping again? Maybe.
Outsiders Nancy Cartwright and Yardley Smith were cast as Bart and Lisa.
This is a dorky show, Bart. Change the channel. No. Change the channel.
The tone was harder and edgier than the big three networks.
Hey, turn that back on.
In a word, it was very Fox.
The voices are really kind of mean and snarly, and it fit really well at the time on Fox because in a sense it almost felt like Fox stating its brand.
Watch this. The burp champion of the world.
Fox always wanted to be outrageous. They always wanted to be in your face.
We're the loud, obnoxious kid at the back of the classroom. We're Bart Simpson. That's who we are as a network.
The show must go on.
Aside from talented voices, animating The Simpsons would require storyboards, which are a collection of pictures, each representing a shot or a key moment in the animation. But since the characters were created by a skilled artist, that bit would be easy.
So Matt would roll in with his really crude storyboards drawn on animation paper.
They were incredibly crude at the time.
And we're not talking about the humor.
You know, Matt, God bless him, but he's not the world's greatest draftsman.
Here's Bart Simpson. Let me draw you Bart Simpson.
I think he admits this too, that he never really evolved past the 8th grade level of draftsmanship.
We were scrambling to figure out how do we animate this Matt Groening style.
But we would take Matt's layout drawings, let's just be nice and call them that, and we'd go like, holy smoke, this is never gonna work.
A lot of it was just kind of trying out stuff and seeing what sticks.
The unrefined style led to the first signs of what would become Simpsons trademarks.
Do you hear something?
Like, we were big fans of popping Bart's eyes out of his head back then.
I'll get it.
Trying to throw in as many wacky takes as we could.
Good news, son. The boxing gloves have arrived.
And for that unique Simpsons coloring,
initially it was supposed to be black and white, but it just kind of screamed out for color.
The distinctive hue of The Simpsons had its origins in a place a long way from Hollywood, with this woman.
I am Georgie Kovacs-Polus, and I designed the color on The Simpsons.
Georgie hailed from a place few Americans associated with color.
I was born and raised in Hungary. Unfortunately, I was born in a politically undesirable family, so there is not a whole lot of things was open to me.
With no hope of standing out in the Hungarian film industry, Georgie escaped to Italy, where she managed to secure a passage to America.
I was so happy when I landed in America. I kissed the ground when I landed.
Georgie's first job in the New World would be thanks to an old world connection, the fellow Hungarian countryman and artist Gabor Csupo.
He needed some color design, so he called me and then we started.
Georgie began contemplating a palette that would give the unique cartoon a unique look.
I did not want it to do flash color because our characters were such as they didn't fit in anywhere.
So Georgie made a simple color choice that would define the look of The Simpsons.
Yellow it's kind of universal. I wanted to unite the characters.
But the legend of The Simpsons Yellow is another Simpsons story with more than one author.
That was Matt's idea. I think he just wanted them to be all the regular suburban, but they're yellow.
No.
Well, the definitive answer to this colorful conundrum can be found in a blue magazine.
So I got a Playboy, and this is where Matt Groening says, he was interviewed. Playboy used to have the best articles. They were known for that. So when it came to time to give them a skin color, the animation color is Georgie Polus chose yellow skin. She never got a proper credit for that.
When it came to the hair, that was easier to explain.
I didn't want it to have it black. But blue, you hear those old ladies with a blue-white hair wash. And I thought, okay, let's make it darker blue, because it looks good.
All right.
They trusted my judgment. And I thought, yeah, I can really create something what was different.
The Simpsons' look was so different, it clashed with the Tracey Ullman Show's other resident cartoon.
Hi, you probably don't even recognize me.
Dr. Janice Godatu.
I haven't had a blind date since med school.
Also produced by the team.
It was an awkward style for us to work. It was a little stiff for us.
I thought you were an attorney.
I am an attorney. I'm also a surgeon.
It was
funny and different and odd, really odd.
However,
Matt just seemed funnier.
So funny, in fact, that they started using it as studio audience warm-up.
I remember the crowd being like belly laughs over this crazy show.
These bumpers were making us laugh, and they were really funny.
And at that point, I really knew there was something there. Like, I knew there was a lot of potential there.
Everyone in the room wanted to hop in bed with the Simpsons, with one notable exception.
Tracey was not fond of The Simpsons. She was not fond of any of the bumpers because she didn't think they were the quality of her show.
And in the boardrooms over at Fox, there were executives who agreed.
I will tell you, there were people in corporate at Fox who wanted us to kill these. Because it cost $15,000 a week to make the animated bumpers.
Thankfully, Garth went with his gut.
I had the argument. I go like, no, we're not killing the animated bumpers. You know, they're onto something here. I don't know what it is, but they're onto something.
Instead, the producers went with audience sentiment, and it was the Simpsons stablemate that would be sacrificed.
M.K. Brown turned in her stuff, and it was good too.
Just fabulous. Her point of view is so unusual and strange, and you know, that's everything I love about it.
So I wore my slippers to the office again. That's okay. I always keep an extra pair of pumps in this cabinet, so there's nothing to worry about. Uh-oh.
But his made us laugh and hers didn't. And we finally went to Heidi and said, Heidi, we want to go with Matt, totally. We want to just make it Matt.
I'll have to wear my slippers home on the subway again.
Meaning, at the end of the first season,
Dr. Janice Godatu
had seen her last patient.
And then it was all Simpsons.
But at Klasky Chupo, the work didn't really get any easier.
Because we were not polished studio guys at all.
I wasn't sure what I was doing there, really. I was just doing it because my girlfriend got me a job.
I was 24 years old. I'd been out of school for like 2 years.
And they were undaunted.
We had a weekly turnaround of an episode, so we had to crank through it.
And it was pretty much 7 days a week, as I recall. It was grueling. They didn't let us out of the basement very often.
But just as the Simpsons were landing,
I thought I heard a thud. You'll hear another one if you don't shut your trap.
they'd be losing a family member.
I never had any bad feelings about being asked to leave the show.
Just as momentum was building for The Simpsons, a key creative player was asked to leave.
You weren't asked to leave it. No, I wasn't. That's a lie. I'm totally fucking with you.
Bill was leaving to pursue other opportunities. That is to say...
Does this answer your question?
To chase a rabbit.
Roger Rabbit had come out just recently, and we all thought that was just amazing. And they hired me to work on these theatrical Roger Rabbit shorts, so I couldn't turn it down.
With Bill off to Toontown, Season 2 of The Simpsons shorts would fall squarely on Wes Archer and David Silverman.
It was just David and I, and the interstitial shorts actually got a little shorter, so we could kind of handle it between the two of us.
A job made more challenging by The Simpsons' own creator.
Matt would drop off his sketches to us, drawn in his inimitable style.
He definitely had a vision and wanted to see things happen, but he was really open to letting David and Wes explore how to get a scene across.
His drawings got sloppier and sloppier, and he kept saying, "You guys draw better than me. Draw the way you want it to look."
And so they did just that.
We really kind of honed in on the style, and so during the second year we kind of arrived at a more consistent look. We kind of started changing his drawings up a little bit more.
The unique anatomy of The Simpsons was taking shape.
And we arrived at like a certain number of points on Lisa's head.
You can say that again.
A certain number of points on Bart's head.
Cowabunga!
How big the eyeballs are, all that kind of stuff.
Even with a tiny on-screen footprint, The Simpsons were starting to make an impact as big as their bulging eyes. It soon became obvious that this growing family was outgrowing its home.
I remember season 2 hearing people calling Fox to find out at what point during Tracey Ullman Show was The Simpsons going to be on so they could tune in during that time only. And that's when I think everyone started to realize, like, there's something going on here that's bigger than maybe we understand yet, and we should buckle up because it's going to be a big ride coming down the pipe.
And inevitably, as the bigness grew, the big producers started paying more attention.
We were working on season 3 of the interstitials. I remember it seemed like they were getting more and more notes from James L. Brooks or Matt.
But this was a good sign.
And I remember Gabor getting all of us together, and there was this big moment of pep talk and like, hey guys, if we play our cards right, we could do something really big here.
Gabor didn't know how right he was. The tiny, roughed-edge interstitials that could were being talked about at high levels.
They saw potential.
It was time for the Simpsons family to grow.
We thought about, oh, maybe we should do this as a full half hour.
Half-hour animated series had worked on network before.
The precedent for that was not what you would think it would be. It was the Flintstones and the Jetsons on ABC, which were huge hits on ABC in the 60s.
In fact, the Flintstones were so popular that for several weeks, ABC was #1 over NBC and CBS.
So there was something in this idea if you could recreate that magic.
But it was the kind of magic that studios rarely tried to capture.
There hadn't been primetime animation since one in the 70s called Wait Till Your Father Gets Home.
Wait till your father gets, until your father gets, wait till your father gets home.
So it was an extremely daunting idea to pitch a primetime animation to the intimidating Barry Diller.
The reason Barry is intimidating is he's really, really smart. And he can tell if you're fibbing, because in Hollywood, we have so many executives who are so prone to bullshitting. And Barry is just like, he has a bullshit meter. You don't even try.
So when it came to pitching to Barry,
you have to be willing to die on the railroad tracks if you want this show to go forward.
Fox desperately needed another breakout hit to repeat the success of Married with Children for the family audience.
Positive! Definitely.
Their most notable attempt was a presidential sitcom,
George C. Scott, Mr. President.
But it failed to win the popular vote.
It was one of those things where you go like, wow, that was a big miss.
And the misses kept coming. With everything from
a teenage drama about a werewolf
to sharks of a sort.
I'm looking for someone who can help me buy a house. Yes.
Open House, which was a realtor comedy.
I really appreciate what you're trying to do here, but it's not working.
You either swing for the fence or you don't swing.
Pitch your favorite of all time I'm Willing to Die on the Railroad Track shows.
And so, Rob and the team faced the locomotive head on.
We went to our boss, Barry, and we pitched him on The Simpsons. He obviously had seen the bumpers, but we were pushing the idea of building it into a show to itself.
But would now be the moment for animation to make its return to primetime?
We couldn't get our boss to kind of go for it.
The Simpsons were returned to their original purpose, playing support, even for in-house gigs.
The year that I was showing our new pilots, we would have a screening room down in our conference room.
Wow, the glamorous world of TV.
And in order to try and get attention, we put The Simpsons on like you would an animated trailer before a movie. And I remember that backfiring, because it was like, oh shit.
The Bart Simpson Show.
And the animated segments got bigger laughs than our comedies. You could see that these little segments really worked. And when they were isolated, they worked even better.
And this time, Barry Diller was willing to take a risk on The Simpsons, but only a much smaller one.
Barry wanted to do the special.
Just 1-hour specials to test the waters.
So we were gonna do a Simpsons Christmas special, a Simpsons Halloween special.
But James L. Brooks hadn't made a career out of half-baked ideas, and he wasn't gonna start now.
Brooks being in the room can say, we're going to do it the way we want to do it.
Jim Brooks wasn't going to do less than 13 episodes.
This wasn't simply naked ambition. Brooks's bottom line was all about the bottom line.
The idea of doing a special back in animation in those days was a 1-year project. And then if you want to do more, you got to come back, and it takes another year to do that. You have to buy 13 episodes, or you can't make a show.
But Fox executives were thinking about their bottom line too.
Neither side would budge.
And it died.
Again. The Simpsons sitcom was dead in the water.
Jim Brooks, he wasn't going to take less than 13, and my management at the time wasn't going to take a swing at that level.
But its backers inside Fox weren't giving up. So Garth Ancier hatched a plan to turn things around.
I agreed to tell a little white lie to our management.
Meaning, to the one guy you don't lie to.
He has a bullshit meter.
But not wanting the opportunity to slip away, Garth risked it all.
I mean, yeah, I did.
And told his boss, with a straight face,
ABC had offered 6 episodes.
And just to be clear,
as far as I can tell, they had not.
But are we to believe that the great Barry Diller fell for it?
In fairness, because I do think Barry has an extraordinary bullshit meter, I think he knew it was a lie. And he went along with it anyway, knowing this was a good idea. That's what got Barry to Order 13.
And as the Gracie logo suggests, that remained a little secret for years.
Little known fact is I'm the person who goes, shh.
But that's not the full story, because around the same time, James L. Brooks had a film deal with Fox that needed to be renewed.
When his film deal renewed, The Simpsons was part of it.
So whether the show was greenlit because of a big lie,
it's a white lie,
or because Fox just wanted to keep Jim Brooks in their stable, one way or another, The Simpsons was a go. But it would be a long countdown to launch, more than a year later.
We bought the show in December 1988.
13-episode animated show, you had to have a lot of lead time. You know, once that train's on the tracks, it's just, you know, you've got to try and make it work.
But making a half-hour animation was a tall order. And there was no guarantee the tiny Klasky Csupo would get the sizable contract.
There was a lot of competition. I think every studio in town wanted the show because everyone knew it was just going to be huge. But I think, you know, like anything else, it came down to numbers.
Fortunately, Klasky Csupo had an ace up their sleeve.
I heard that he underbid everybody.
Which was good enough for Gracie Films. And Klasky Csupo retained the show they had helped create.
My recollection of when Klasky got the pickup was walking into work and everyone in Gabler's office celebrating. It was like early in the morning, but there was still champagne, and I was like, what the hell's going on?
It was such an exciting time.
At the time, I didn't really understand what it meant to go from a studio of 6 people to a studio of 100 people overnight.
What it meant was they'd be hiring, and not just animators.
Designers, storyboard artists, background designers, prop designers, layout artists.
But would all this money and attention file down The Simpsons' edge?
Because it is anarchic, distrustful of authority, and irreverent, and subversive as much as possible.
Turning this cartoon into something much more was gonna need the right executive team.
Matt Groening, underground cartoonist, brings this kind of anarchic spirit and this distrust of authority to it. Big shot TV and movie veteran producer James L. Brooks, who brings kind of a kind-hearted, maybe a little bit saccharine kind of sensibility to the thing.
But they would need a third person to round out the team.
Jim Brooks is a busy guy. We needed to find a voice for the show, a showrunner.
Enter Sam Simon.
And Sam Simon at the time, you know, he had the right credits of, you know, premium comedy, Emmy kind of level comedies.
Having written for Taxi, The Tracey Ullman Show, and Cheers.
TV veteran, the guy who's worked a lot of writers' rooms, you know, knows comedy, knows how to find good comedy writers.
While he was the perfect addition, Sam Simon would be navigating a minefield littered with the corpses of failed primetime sitcoms.
When you're gonna spend half an hour a week with a family, you have to kind of like them. They can't just be terrible.
It would be up to these 3 gentlemen to turn an imperfectly drawn, imperfect family into the perfect TV show. And even if the executives didn't know it at the time, the fate of Fox was riding on this cadre of colorful cartoon characters.
The fear was always just that it was like a big leap. Would there be an audience?